Walter Elias Disney, a legend, a folk hero of the 20th century, and so often considered to be a picture-perfect example of the American dream. His worldwide popularity is said to be based upon the ideals which his name has become to represent: imagination, optimism, creation, and self-made success in the American tradition. He was born on December the 5th, 1901, in Chicago, Illinois.
Walt was one of 5 children, 4 boys and a girl. Walt's father, Elias Charles Disney, was born in Canada to Irish Protestant immigrants. He became a farmer and a businessman with very little success. He could be quite stern, and often there was little money. He was an outspoken socialist who advocated a socialist New World Order and a supporter of Eugene Debs. Eugene Debs was an American Union leader, one of the founding members of the Industrial Workers of the World, IWW, or the Wobblies, and 5 times the candidate of the Socialist Party of America for the President of the United States. Debs eventually became one of the best-known socialists living in the United States. According to the book, Walt Disney, an American Original, page 147, Walt and his father once had the following dialogue regarding his father's socialist idealism. Keep in mind this book was wrote with the full cooperation of the Disney family, making it highly probable to push the public image of Walt they desired. Dad, how do you feel about having voted 50 years for candidates who never won anything? Walter, I feel fine, Elias replied. We have won. We've won a lot. I found out that things don't always come about in the form you have advocated, but you keep fighting and they come about in some way or another. Today, everything I fought for in those early days has been absorbed into the platforms of both major parties. Now I feel pretty good about that.
Walt later paid tribute to his father with a small sign on his Main Street USA attraction at Disneyland, which is still in place today. It reads, Elias Disney, contractor, established 1895.
I said, Dad, I want to be an artist. And my dad, he just couldn't buy that.
Even without his father's support, Walt was encouraged by his mother, Flora, Carl Disney, and older brother, Roy, to pursue his talents.
If she is Walt's and Roy's true mother, is surrounded by controversy and remains unclear. Walt spent much of his life trying to trace his family, which is a recurring theme in his films. Was Walt Disney possibly the descendant of English royalty? Did this royal connection play a part in his rise to the top of American business? We may never know. What we do know is, in 1801, Arundel Elias Disney, great-grandfather of Walt Disney, was born in Kilkenny, Ireland. He is a descendant of Hughes and Robert Disney, who came to England with William the Conqueror. The two men stayed in the country after the victory in 1066 and settled in Normandy.
Brother Roy had joined the Navy, so I wanted to join it.
He was only 16 years old at the time. He had already dropped out of high school.
Another boy, I don't think he's as old as I was, but he looked older. We went to the Navy, and they turned us down. They were too young. Finally, this kid come in to me very excited. He says, there's something just forming here that you and I can get in.
The Red Cross Ambulance Corps would accept volunteers as young as 17. So he decided to alter his birth date on his passport application from 1901 to 1900 so that he could enlist. Disney reported for training at Camp Scott, a temporary encampment near the University of Chicago. Yellow Cab Company mechanics taught recruits how to repair motors, assemble and disassemble vehicles, and drive over rough terrain. Walt's unit sailed to Europe without him while he was recovering from influenza. He then later joined another unit awaiting transport to France. While that unit was waiting to be shipped out, the war actually ended. Nevertheless, they still shipped out 50 men the following day to aid in the occupation.
I was assigned to evacuation hospital number 5 in Paris, and we were on our way to France.
He spent a year driving an ambulance and chauffeuring Red Cross officials.
And we became replacements.
While there, he found time to develop his artistic skills.
I had my drawing board right by my bunk, so I started painting pictures all over my truck.
He illustrated posters for the Red Cross and submitted war-related cartoons for Life magazine and other magazines. All were rejected. Disney spent roughly a year in France. As American troops were quickly being sent home, Disney applied for discharge and was sent back on September the 22nd, 1919. Once Walt returned from France, he headed back to Kansas City.
Went to Kansas City, and Roy was in Kansas City working at a bank.
And began to pursue a career in commercial art. His brother Roy helped him get work at the Pesmen Rubin commercial art studio. That is where he first met fellow cartoonist Ubbe Iwwerks. Iwwerks was very good at lettering. He was a very talented artist, an engineer, and extremely hardworking. Iwwerks was shy and reserved, while, on the other hand, Disney was a visionary man who was very outgoing and business-minded. The two became fast friends and complemented each other's skills well. Walt would do layouts in pencil, and then he would turn it over to Iwwerks, who would do the final inking and clean up. Soon after Walt was hired at Pesmen, the both of them were laid off. So in 1920, they formed Iwwerks Disney Commercial Artist. The company fails only after 1 month. Then Walt got a job at Kansas City Slide Company, later renamed Kansas City Film Ad Company.
So I went into this Kansas City Film Ad Company.
And Iwwerks soon followed. They made commercials that were based on cutout animation.
But I wanted to experiment making the theatrical cartoons.
While keeping his day job, he decided to open up his own animation business.
I started experimenting at night.
from the ag company that he worked for, he recruited Fred Harmon as his first employee.
Worked on a little idea that I had that I wanted to sell to the Newman Theater. The chain of about 3 theaters.
Walt and Harmon made a deal to produce advertising, topical, shorts, also cartoons.
I called the things Newman Laugh-O-Grams. Desperately trying to get something that would get a hold, could catch on. So I was thinking if I had something with a novel to it, well, I might crack the market.
Laugh-O-Grams hired a number of employees, including Harmon's brother, Hugh, and Iwwerks. They created a series of 7-minute fairy tales that combined live action and animation.
The cartoon would always come off the drawing board and run around in a real room and work with a real person. I said, well, maybe I'll pull a reversal on that. I'll put the humans in with the cartoon.
Walt Disney joined the Order of DeMolay in 1920 as the 107th member of the original Mother Chapter in Kansas City. He was 19 years old at the time. In an essay on DeMolay, Walt stated the following, quote, "The DeMolay creeds had become a definite guide by the time I started making motion pictures, first in Kansas City, then in Hollywood," end quote. The Order of DeMolay was founded in Kansas City, Missouri in 1919 by Frank Sherman Land. He gave up his social service job with the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry and became full-time Secretary General in the headquarters of the DeMolay organization in 1922. In 1925, he was named Knight Commander of the Court of Honor of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry and crowned with the 33rd degree. The 33rd degree is the highest degree in Scottish Rite Freemasonry, which can only be obtained by meritorious work to bring about the completion of the great work, which is the destruction of the church, the state, and the enslavement of the mob, which is the general public. In the book Walt Before Mickey, Disney's Early Years, 1919 through 1928, in the foreword by Diane Disney Miller, Walt's daughter, she said the following, quote, "Dad was a charter member of DeMolay and very fond of Dad Land. I heard them both, my mother and father, express affection for him when I was very young." DeMolay actors are not a separate organization from Freemasonry, rather they are a part of it. It is an international organization for young men, ages 12 to 21, the youth organization of the craft, just like the Rainbow Girls are associated with Eastern Star. The name comes from Jacques DeMolay, the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar during the Crusade. The original 9 members of DeMolay selected the name in honor of him. The 30th degree of the Scottish Rite is called Knight of the Kadash and the Knights Templar. Quote, "The history of the Knights Templar is revealed to him. It is also explained to him that the Knights of Kadash do not fight to revenge DeMolay, rather they fight in the present world to oppose tyranny and to protect the weak. And then it is essentially left to him. He knows what tyranny is. He has been made aware that a king, a president, a congress, or a school board can enforce it. He has been assured that tyranny is not something that happened only in the past. It is something which happens every day in his world. He may encounter examples of it a dozen times a day. And a dozen times a day he will have to decide whether to let tyranny continue or to oppose it. If he truly understands the 30th degree, he realizes that he has undertaken a very great responsibility. But a true knight of Kadash always understands that if no one fights, the battle is lost before it starts. End quote. Knights of the Kadash, or Knights of the White and Black Eagle, by Jim Treisner, 33rd degree Grand Cross. 1936, Disney appeared as an honored guest at the first DeMolay Founders Conference in Kansas City. At this time, he gave his first public address. In his address, he spoke about how much being at DeMolay meant to him. Quote, I feel a great sense of obligation and gratitude towards DeMolay for the important part it played in shaping my life. Its precepts have been invaluable in making decisions and facing dilemmas and crises, and holding on to one's faith and ideals, and in meeting those tests which are best borne when shared with others in a bond of confidence. DeMolay stands for all that is good for the family and for our country. I feel privileged to have enjoyed membership of DeMolay.
Manly P. Hall has been widely recognized as a leading scholar in the fields of religion, mythology, mysticism, and the occult. He is also a 33rd degree Mason of the Scottish Rite. He's the founder of the Philosophical Research Society. And in his book, Orders of the Quest, The Holy Grail, page 33, this quote can be found. Quote, the persecution of the Templars, thinly veiled under ecclesiastical and secular trials and convictions, extended over a period of approximately 6 years. Jacques DeMolay was imprisoned 5.5 years before his execution. During this time, the Grand Master, together with most of his officers and more prominent knights, was subject to indescribable tortures. Many died of pain and exhaustion, and some, unable to endure further suffering, confessed to the crimes which they had been charged. A number of these, however, later retracted their confessions and died gallantly, rather than to purge their immortal souls to preserve their bodies. Continued on page 34 and 35. DeMolay must have realized from the beginning of the elaborate series of trials that justice had no place in the proceedings. The order was doomed from the beginning. And on the 18th of March, 1314, he stood before the Cardinal of Alba and heard the sentence of the perpetual imprisonment. When the Cardinal began a detailed account of the guilt of the Templars based upon confessions obtained by torture, the Grand Master interrupted him with a sweeping denial. Quote, I know the punishments which have been inflicted on all the knights who had the courage to revoke a similar confession, but the dreadful spectacle which is presented to me is not able to make me confirm one lie by another. The life offered to me on such infamous terms I abandoned without regret. End quote. When King Philip learned that the course events were taking, his rage knew no bounds, and without even recourse to the proceeding of the ecclesiastical court, he declared that the knights should be immediately burned at the stake. DeMolay addressed the huge assembly with these prophetic words, quote, France will remember our last moments. We die innocent. The decree that commends us is an unjust decree, but in heaven there's an august tribunal to which the weak never appeal in vain. To that tribunal, within 40 days, I summon the Roman pontiff. O Philip, my king, I pardon thee in vain, for thy life is condemned at the tribunal of God. Within a year I await thee. End quote. The pontiff was stricken by an obscure element and actually died on the 19th day of the following month. The church in which his body was placed took fire and the corpse was half consumed. King Philip, before the year had elapsed, also departed from this world in misery and great pain. Most of the active persecutors of the order perished by premature or violent deaths. As an aside, according to the legend, it was at the daybreak on Friday the 13th, October 1307, when hundreds of Templars in France were simultaneously arrested by agents of Philip the Fair, to be later tortured. This is where we get our modern superstition of Friday the 13th being so unlucky. In Northville, Michigan, there is a DeMolay chapter that is named Walt Disney chapter in honor of him. Of course, just like other DeMolay chapters, it is sponsored by the local Freemasonic Lodge.
Albert Pike was a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason. He was elected Sovereign Grand Commander of the Scottish Rite's Southern Jurisdiction in 1859. He remained Sovereign Grand Commander for the remainder of his life, devoting a large amount of time to developing the rituals of the order. Pike, to this day, is still regarded as one of the most eminent and influential Freemasons. Morals and Dogma, which is considered one of his greatest works, was traditionally given to the candidate upon receiving his 14th degree. This practice was stopped in 1974. Morals and Dogma has not been given to the candidates since then. A Bridge to Light by Rex R. Hutchins is provided to the candidates today. Hutchins nominates that Morals and Dogma is read by so few Masons. A Bridge to Light was written to be a bridge between the ceremonies of the degrees and their lectures in Morals and Dogma.
In Morals and Dogma, page 820, quote, "The end of the drama is well known, and how Jacques DeMolay and his followers perished in the flames. But before his execution, the chief of the doomed order organized and instituted what afterward came to be called the occult, hermetic, or Scottish Masonry. In the gloom of his prison, the Grand Master created 4 metropolitan lodges, at Naples for the east, at Edinburgh for the west, and Stockholm for the north, and at Paris for the south. The initials of his name, JBM, found in the same order in the first 3 degrees, are but one of the many internal and cogent proofs that such was the origin of modern Freemasonry. In The Secret Teaching of All Ages by Manly P. Hall, page 78, quote, "The close relationship between Freemasonry and the original Knights Templar has caused the story of Hiram to be linked with the martyrdom of Jacques DeMolay. According to this interpretation, the 3 ruffians who cruelly slew their master at the gates of the temple because he refused to reveal the secrets of his order represent the Pope, the King, and the executioners. DeMolay died maintaining his innocence and refusing to disclose the philosophy and magical arcanum of the Templars."
Disney was a member of the first class to be inducted into the DeMolay Hall of Fame on November the 13th, 1986. The Masonic Stamp Club in New York had a special first day cover commemorative with DeMolay and Walt images, and a Walt Disney stamp. Christian Rosenkreutz looks exactly like Jacques DeMolay. Christian Rosenkreutz was the founder of the Rosicrucians.
According to Rosicrucian.com, they say this about Max Heindel. Max Heindel was selected by the Brothers of the Rosenkreutz to give out publicly Western wisdom teaching and thus help prepare humanity for the coming age of universal brotherhood. By means of intense self-discipline and devotion to service, he earned the status of lay brother in the exhausted Rosicrucian order. Under the direction of the Brothers of the Rosenkreutz, spiritual giants of the human race, Max Heindel wrote the Rosicrucian Cosmo-concept, an epoch-making book, which has now become the Western world's leading textbook on occultism. Cosmo-conception by Max Heindel. Quote, his very name is the embodiment of the manner and the means by which the present-day man is transformed into the super-being. The symbol Christian Rosenkreutz, the Christian Rose-Cross, shows the end and aim of human evolution, the road to be traveled and the means whereby the end is gained. According to the mystery schools,
it is the Lumen Man, the man that is able to make the evolutionary jump, to no more war, to no more rape, no more pillage, to the level in the mystery schools known as 666. This man will go into the future and the rest of us will perish. We will not be allowed into the future. If we are, it will be a slave labor. It is the number of a man, the Lumen Man to the mystery schools. According to Christians, it is the symbol, mark of the beast, the indication that the Antichrist has arrived and the beginning of the time predicted in the book of Revelation, known as the Tribulation.
Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati, is quoted saying, quote, the great strength of our order lies in its concealment. Let it never appear in any place in its own name, but always covered by another name and another occupation. None is fitter than the three lower degrees of Freemasonry. The public is accustomed to it, expects little from it, and therefore takes little notice of it. Next to this, the form of a learned or literate society is best suited to our purpose. And had Freemasonry not existed, this cover would have been employed. And it may be much more than a cover. It may be a powerful engine in our hands. By establishing reading societies and subscription libraries and taking these under our direction and supplying them through our labors, we may turn the public mind which way we will. In like manner, we must try to obtain an influence in the military academies, the printing houses, booksellers' shops, chapters, and in short in all offices which have any effect, either in forming or in managing or even in directing the mind of man. Painting and engraving are highly worthy of our care. End quote. Found in Proofs of the Conspiracy, page 112. As Weishaupt explained, these orders are united no matter what outward appearance is seen by the public. They can be referred to as the ancient mystery schools, Mystery Babylon, or simply the mysteries, etc. Today, these schools are known by many different names. One such example is Freemasonry. However, Pike's Morals and Dogma, page 624, he said, quote, Masonry is identical with the mystery schools, unquote. Also, in Manly P. Hall's Lost Keys of Freemasonry, page 18, he says, quote, the true Masonic Lodge is a mystery school, end quote. Quote, Masonry's ceremonies, symbols, and the celebrated legend of Hiram in the Master Mason's degree were directly borrowed from the ancient mysteries, or the secret worship of Baal, Horus, or Tammuz, end quote. Edmund Rodine, from the
Master's Carpet, page 7. Max Heindel stated in the Rosicrucian Cosmo-conception that the Order of the Rosicrucians are also part of the mysteries. Quote, "The Order of the Rosicrucians is not merely a secret society, it is one of the mystery schools." R. Swinburne Clymer works are standard reading for American Rosicrucians, and his interest in medicine is continued by the FRC to this day. He joined the FRC in 1897, becoming a Grand Master of it in 1905 at the age of 27. Swinburne referred to himself as a member of the Illuminati in his book, Fundamental Laws, a report of the 68th Convocation of the Rosenkreutz Order, 1917. Quote, "I feel the weight of the responsibility resting upon me, for in the Illuminati, to preach is a very small part of the duties to be performed." In his book, A Rosecross College said, "The fire philosophy is the basis of all religious mysteries and all the secret philosophies of the universe. It is also the underlying principle of which all secret occult brotherhoods are founded. It was taught in the ancient mysteries, and although the knowledge of it has long been lost to the world, it has also been preserved in the occult fraternities. The aim of all true initiates, no matter what the name of the fraternity may be, is to know the nature of the secret fire that regenerates the world and which renders him who comes into its possession immortal." Manly P. Hall, in The Initiates of Flame, on page 17, "Those who follow the path of faith or the heart use water, and are known as the sons of Seth, while those who follow the path of mind and action are the sons of Cain, who was the son of Samael, or Satan, the spirit of fire. Today we find the latter among the alchemists, the Hermetic philosophers, the Rosicrucians, and the Freemasons." Manly P. Hall had this to say in The Lost Keys of Freemasonry, page 48. Quote, "When the Mason learns that the key to the warrior block is the proper application of the dynamo of living power, he has learned the mystery of his craft. The seething energies of Lucifer are in his hands." End quote. In Freemasonry and Catholicism by Max Heindel, the following is stated: "That which we see as Freemasonry today is an attempt by the hierarchs of fire, the Lucifer spirits, to bring us the imprisoned spirit, light, that by it we may see and know." Albert Pike continued this thought in Morals and Dogma on page 321. Quote, "Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning. It is he who bears the light, and with its splendors intolerable, blinds feeble, sensual, or selfish souls, doubt it not." End quote. Manly P. Hall had this to say in The Initiates of Flame, page 83, quote, "And Lucifer, the one rejected by man as the devil, is the one who must through the planet Mars send man the dynamic energy which man himself must transmute from the fire of passion to the flame of spirit. He then must take the tools of the craft and cut and polish his own being into the capstone of the universal temple." End quote. Now it might be interesting to go back and look at the Templars' original charges. They were charged with spitting on the cross during initiation into the order.
Also included in their many charges was worshiping Baphomet, which today is used as the seal for the modern Satanic Church. Alice Baily established Lucifer Trust in 1922 as a publishing company to disseminate the books of herself and Madame Blavatsky, also the Theosophical Society. Its name changed 1 year later to Lucis Trust. Lucis Trust is the spiritual foundation of the United Nations. It is also the publishing house which prints and disseminates United Nations material. It is well known for publishing New Age materials.
She wrote in the externalization of the hierarchy on page 514, "There is no question, therefore, that the work to be done in familiarizing the general public with the nature of the mysteries is of paramount importance at this time. These mysteries will be restored to outer expression through the medium of the Church and the Masonic fraternity." Anton LaVey was the founder of the modern Church of Satan. He authored several books, including the Satanic Bible. Quote, "Many of you have already read my writings identified in TV as the new God. There's a little thing I neglected to mention. Up until now, television is the major mainstream infiltration of the new satanic religion. The TV set for the satanic family altar has grown more elaborate since the early 1950s, from a tiny fuzzy screen to huge entertainment centers covering entire walls with several TV monitors. What started as a innocent reprise from everyday life has become in itself a replacement for real life. For millions, a major religion of the masses." Anton LaVey, The Devil's Notebook, page 86. In Alice Baily's The Externalization of the Hierarchy, page 510, quote, "The three main channels through which the preparation for the New Age is going on might be regarded as the Church, the Masonic fraternity, and the educational field." End quote. Quote, "The Masonic orders have contained the most influential men in many governments, and virtually every occult order has many Masonic roots." End quote. Anton LaVey, The Satanic Rituals. Today, a majority of modern secret societies are part of this Luciferian or Babylonian schools. DeMolay is simply the children's branch of the mystery schools. Walt Disney's devotedness and pride in DeMolay remained with him his entire life. He attributed his life and business success as a direct involvement with the organization, which shows how deeply Walt felt that DeMolay was a shining beacon in his life. In the Satanic Rituals by Anton LaVey, when speaking about a specific ritual, he says the following, in regard to what musical selection should be used during the ritual. Quote, "If in doubt, Walt Disney can be your guide." Walt Disney was clearly educated in the mystery schools. He had a deep understanding of them, which guided him through his life, was taught in a majority of his works, which can clearly be seen once made aware of it. In future episodes of the Sorcerers world of Disney, we'll discuss Mickey Mouse joining DeMolay, Walt's multiple honors received from DeMolay, Club 33, Walt's FBI ties. Also, we'll be revealing the mystery school teachings within most of Walt's work, and much, much more. As we progress, remember, Walt stated, quote, "The DeMolay creeds had become a definite guide by the time I started making motion pictures, first in Kansas City, then in Hollywood." End quote.